Accessibility in the strictest form of the word is reducing barriers, particularly for people that have various types of disabilities or difficulties.
For me, accessibility is sort of not just meeting the bare minimum standards. Accessibility is about going above and beyond to make sure that your space is available, is open, is welcoming to every single person on campus and in the community.
In my words, I would define accessibility as creating a culture where all students, especially students with an eligible disability, has access to resources, access to opportunities, access to a positive education experience at Michigan Tech, and not denied those opportunities because of a disability, their race, their gender, or some other kind of difference. That's why it's important.
So, you had the initial movement to do barrier-free code requirements and the American with Disabilities Act, and that all started in the 80s, really got pushed in the 90s, and became more codified in regulations. Following that, there was this realization that the code is like the bare minimum, making sure that toilet stalls are the correct size and the doors swing the right way. But about 20 years ago or so, some folks started talking about the whole idea of universal design and going beyond just the minimum code requirements and looking at the whole issue more holistically. Designing a passageway that works easily for people that have various types of disabilities works also for a mom with a stroller or, somebody pushing a lab cart around. If you have a smooth, accessible pathway that works for them just as well as anybody else. I think, overall it would be better in the long run to require more of the universal design concepts to be included with the codes, but, that's all a matter of time.
I think Michigan Tech is doing just as good as any other university, period. We are obviously not a big institution that has enormous resources, but nonetheless, we're following the law. We're making sure that our students have access to the experiences that we're offering. So in that sense, I think we are right up there with the best of the institutions that are also doing the same things.
While we may be meeting the bare minimum standard of ADA compliance, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're being as accessible as we can be. The climate and the weather make that very difficult. It's one thing to walk on crutches from gyms to the meme on a normal day, but add in a blizzard or several inches of ice on the ground and that becomes extremely treacherous.
I would say the age of our buildings is one of the issues. A lot of our facilities were built in like the late 60s, 70s. Barrier-free code issue just wasn't thought about back then. The other unique situation that we have is just our terrain. We have some steep hills, some steep inclines, and to try to make that barrier-free is not an easy thing to do.
I would consider myself still new. I'm still learning what those inherent institutional challenges are.
There are 7,000 students on this campus. There's 3,000 staff and faculty, and each one of them has like a different issue to get around. And so we can't just ignore those people's concerns and say, oh, well, it doesn't matter because, the majority of people don't have this problem. We can't just brush those concerns aside. We want this Michigan Tech to be this welcoming place for everyone. We got to work towards that. Like I said, I've been here for 12 years. I consider Michigan Tech my home. I love this place, and I want everyone else to feel the same way.
We want everyone to be successful. We want everyone to be the absolute best version of themselves as a student, as well as when they leave Tech. And it's also consistent with who we are as Americans. If we truly believe that everyone should have an equal opportunity to be successful, then we need to create an environment where people have access to all those opportunities.
I think the biggest thing that Michigan Tech can do is as they are beginning to develop their renovation plans and their master plan to figure out what the campus is going to look like in 20 to 30 years, upgrade some of our existing facilities to meet some of these standards, to have more consistency with, like I said, bathrooms, elevators, doors all across campus.
Now we're looking at, when we do upgrades, to make sure that they meet more universal design standards. For instance, changing the majority of door knobs to levers is a small thing, but that's kind of a big deal. We welcome input and suggestions and comments, and we'll just keep moving forward.